Hello, everybody, and as you can see, I'm doing the intro. So that means was my little plan and my thing to pester him to death to watch Line of Duty. So welcome to the stream.
Yeah, and now there's a pretty good intro from my host. She hadn't, she had to pay me £250 to actually start watching as only Joe Kinari window I am the of the episode
Now, what actually happened? He got fed up of hearing me bang on about it, so he thought, "Oh, I'll watch it."
yeah.
So hi, Sudoku, I've seen you in the chat, and welcome to anybody who joins us. Considering this is us doing something a bit different.
Yeah, and that says a bit different as Charlotte said, but like as you see across and this green banner says, perhaps and he's won't under any circumstances and spoil any of the episodes, although the as episode is either in the live chat, the comments section. So, like, Charlotte, as you're the egg, as you're the egg, but, well, hi, said the Apple, hi,
Hi, Darren.
Aaron, so, yeah, yeah, so, so, what are you, on 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 the episode I showed the energy. Yes, that
No, I think it's a really good character intro. And as people probably know by now, that's what's always going to attract me to any show if you get your characters right. And I think it gives just enough for the main three, with Steve being obviously the primary one you get to know in this first episode. But I think it's a very, and that's the thing that I do like about this show, that the way it does characters is it sort of uses action, it uses lots of different things to tell you about the character. You don't get like, here's your dedicated character moment scene. It's sort of all throughout. Hi, Wen.
and hello to PJ in the chat. So, so just to expand on what you're saying is like, so I'm going to ask you that question before you get into any more specific details. You connect all tell what in the main characters, because there is technically only one main characters to start off the part. So
No, I think obviously there's not a lot of Ted and Kate in the first episode.
Yeah.
And they're sort of there and they get introduced, but like I said, this is the first episode's about Steve. And maybe that's why throughout the rest of the series he remains my favourite character. And I think it's because of how he's portrayed in the first episode.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to be a bit more detailed to go into that. But I think they really get his character right.
Yeah, and like I'll give you my thoughts on I'll give you my thoughts on Eve to start off with. So the episode starts off it's an anti error operation. So basically was even and even inverting because the arch um a arch
Well, it
basically
wasn't really his fault
yeah
if you really think about what happens in that scene, and that's what I like about it. It's not technically his fault, but the
yeah
way the system works, it sort of lands on his doorstep. The fallout from it.
yeah so yeah so he yeah so he get so he gets the so he gets the fill some extra up and like it and it causes like he's under this on skip want to end up shooting a other big basically because they were called into Holton and Nancy to air and they were older and because they were scratching of a zombie basically
Yeah, and
and
there's
yeah
they into don't they? The way they do the scene is quite clever because they show you bits of the father and the angles they choose and the way they portray
mhm,
him. It makes you think, oh God, he's got a bomb. So
yeah
it sort of tricks the audience for the sort of reveal that you said, which is, oh God,
yeah
it's a father holding a baby and he's got
yeah
like I don't know what you'd refer to it as, with like bottles on, like you'd have with milk and stuff for a
yeah
baby.
yeah, and then obviously you get the review and you're like, holy holy shit, and then you weren't expecting it. I'm like, what the hell's this? And you're like, thrown to the body, or to the action basically. And so, so the, and it, so the, and it cuts to the end. Yes, and basically, and basically, and basically, basically, Steve wants to sort of ace up his um um his partner, but he's basically told to shut up by his um,
It's a
by
bit
his
more than that
superior.
because, and
Yeah,
this is, it goes with the theme of the show, is as
yeah,
soon as they realise they've done the mistake, his boss appears, who's like the
yeah,
superintendent, and he's
mhm,
already got a cover story, hasn't he? He's literally tells
yeah,
them in the back of the van when they're still all recovering, all
yeah,
the people in the right gear and who have done the raid. He basically
yeah.
says to them, "Here's your cover story. You're gonna all say this, so we don't get like it's like, and the inference is so we don't get in trouble for this." So it's
Yeah,
like Steve
mm,
won't go with the
yeah,
cover story. That's why he gets in trouble, basically.
yeah. And he wants to dress up in his horses so they can look funny. Basically, basically. And so then he get so then he gets so then he gets the all from AC AC sorry, which is the anti-corruption side of the force, and you get introduced to one another and to one another character um, characters and Ed that basically is headhunting them from that on to become to become part of the and and to become part of the apartment. So um and so it is well and us kill an interesting sort of dynamic with the with it whenever I seen it with the more and there is pretty is pretty still on yeah it the on a way to the wasn't actions because you could kids you can kind of tell that Steve is unexperienced and a bit naive because he just got a promotion off the back of this watched job basically.
Yeah, and Steve's personality
Yeah,
is quite abrasive at times. Like
yeah,
he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. So
yeah,
you've got Hastings, who's Ted, who's very old fashioned. I think
yeah,
that's on purpose as well. Like he's very old guard, he's very old fashioned. So he's the
yeah,
type of boss that he's used to telling people what to do and they just do it.
yeah.
And Steve sort of is constantly, especially in the first episode, butting heads with him, I would say.
Yeah. I am yeah, so when it cuts to this and when it cuts to the sort of and opposite series and Tony and Tony and Tony so you who who did you give just about to get as an officer um um officer the you're basically and what all it is with him is it kind of sets up his arc because he just um, be, because he's just after he's just after his prestige. You just sort of oh and I kiss this about that he's up to and he's up good and he forgets to um and like and and he starts not to follow and the correct procedure arms and stuff. I thought like that till or get everything until us he's having in the face here of the as high end CEO who's writing him a who's writing him a do of um who's writing him a do of an of a giant even investigate.
Oh yeah. Well, he's sort of seen as quite
Yeah,
a flashy guy, isn't he? Like you
yeah,
look at his card, you look the way he sort of with the
yeah,
award, the way he sort of acts, he's quite flashy. So when you see the scene in the calf and you see, oh, he's having an affair, it's not
yeah,
really a surprise, and it's
yeah,
very much.
yeah,
That's another thing with Line of Duty. I like how a lot of the characters they're quite upfront with the faults in them, like even the good guys, especially with the bent coppers.
yeah,
And it's like you see his quite quickly. But here's the thing: in that same scene, he does stop
yeah,
some. He is screaming or fuss outside, and he stops
yeah,
some youths robbing like a woman with her kid.
yeah,
So he's not completely a villain. That's what I do like about Gates as a character. He's not irredeemable. He has still got good traits, but you see his bad ones.
yeah. And yeah, and right, and right away, I am we are thinking this guy's not actually if out in the correct arms or anything. Basically, need to follow the procedure I had already that at that point because um, b- um because there was already something sort of yeah, about and then that gets discovered in the episode. I don't know what it was, but I kind of guessed that before what it was shown to me. But again, though, I get again though, that's he's trying to the end of the two guys. There's almost the very sort of very sort of very sort of anima. Taking something that you would see out of a big hole in wood and a, a woman almost it was really well directed. Right?
Oh yeah, the
Just,
direction, and
yeah,
you'll see that going forward, it gets better. Like the direction for all the action
yeah,
stuff, you can tell it's people who know their craft and who know
yeah,
how not to
yeah,
just seamlessly put these sort of, like you said, quite high action things in an episode, and it just sort of becomes normal
yeah,
almost the more you watch.
yeah. Um, so yeah, so then, so, 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 and it what's to he who has and who has in character of the show and like so what's to her and she's uh, um and she's an of you sort of and of you I get I that basically I was in a council the that's had trouble with that's had trouble with this sort of notorious sort of and that come and that becomes prevalent later on. He said, he's saying that his house has been and all of that. But as well, it's been in order to put that in the back, but and sort of and sort of prioritize the sort of and sort of prioritize the he can own it's basically and so she's so she's been told to so she's been told to so she's been told to like he can own process that I think that was
Yeah, it's basically
yeah
the boss who I can't, the name
yeah
escapes me because there's quite a few bosses in this show. You'll could turn to learn. He basically
yeah
says they have targets.
yeah
Is the way I understood it. They have targets, and they have certain crimes that they have to be seen to be tackling more. And
yeah
because this is like a low level burglary, it's not part of the target brief. So, yeah, she basically
yeah
gets told, no, you need to that can be left to. We're not going to ignore it, but we're not going to prioritize it. And I honestly think that's a bit
yeah
of, like, we moan about social like justice and all that in modern shows. I think that's a good way to sort of deal with an issue, because I do think
yeah
Jed is trying to highlight there is a lot of stuff that the police just don't have the time or get told by politicians or people above them. You don't deal with that, and I think that's what that whole sort of scene sort of highlighting.
yeah and the guy that she interviews is actually from the Sarah Jane Adventures and it's an actor that is cool like from Angela who's the because like I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head but I know that he's in one of the later episodes of the Sarah Jane Adventure. So he's quite a very high sort of profile actor, and you can kind of tell that he's been about a bit as well. Though, so everybody in the show as well, kind of been out for a while. You have a Kim well that is the starting like starting like dramas such as Channel 4 dramas like as design in dramas like that. So they've all sort of been around a bit. Like kind of lost my police could have went off in a
No, you were
tangent
telling.
and
We were talking
yeah,
about Kate being told don't deal with like
yeah,
these yobbos, the harassing the old
yeah. So
guy.
so I actually turns out that she's an undercover officer on under the under the instruction at AC Health, but you don't find that out. You don't find that out till later on in the episode.
It's the
Till
stinger,
later
isn't it? It's the
on in
stinger
the
at the
episode.
end,
Yeah, yeah. Mhm,
which the show is very good at doing stingers at the end.
yeah. Um, and so, so, but later, so, but later on, so a bit later on, only gets called to um, only gets called to Jackie's house, um, and basically, and and basically, this is and basically, in this is how I start on the album for only basically because she tells him that she's been out and that she's been out drinking basically. Yeah, and I, um um and it's later revealed that she had a person because she was just 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 Ivan,
Yeah,
but because she's such um, because she's such she reports the car, and she reports the car as in bit like the car keys are in the hand, are in the hand, so, so basically, so so basically, he's like, oh shit, where are the car
he basically has to say,
the
right,
car
I'm a
yeah,
police officer, do as I say because I can get
yeah,
you out of this.
yeah,
Because
and
she's a complete
yeah,
idiot.
and so like, he then has to sort of make out that it's a bad. He can basically make it because after that she's been walking in, um, um, walking in, maybe basically, yeah,
Yeah.
mm, mm,
Because the other interesting thing is, like you said, that's when things start to sort of go wrong, and
yeah,
you can. It's
mhm,
interesting back to the whole you said to do with Hastings and Steve,
yeah,
because throughout, I'd say probably the whole of this episode, Steve is
yeah,
pretty convinced that Gates, like Hastings, is just chasing Gates for no apparent reason, and he's just a good copper.
Yeah.
And so you sort of have that in the background.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. So you can sort of see Steve being like, "Oh, he's fine." But then when you start to see the more with the Laverty stuff happening, you can just see that this is going to be his downfall.
Yeah. But see the thing is, so he's already in the shit though. If you think about it though, because it's because it's been implied that even before the end of the episode, and the two of them have been seeing each other for an extended period of time, almost, and he's getting sort of the perfect family.
Yeah, I was going to say, you see his home life, and he's literally got the perfect wife, two kids, like a big dog. Like, if you want to think of the most stereotypical, like, cushy, nice life, Gates has it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you be playing away with this woman?
Yeah.
So like I said, that's when you see his faults. You see the sort of, it's almost with Gates, he's never happy with what he has.
Yeah.
And he has to always have that little extra. That's what Jackie is to him, I think.
Yeah, so basically, because he stands and because Hastings and Steve are on a basically on his he gets all done to a poor and on top of was the first and he gets called into he gets called into um it gets handed and the one notice cause it didn't cause it didn't when the correct arms on like organ or equal organ like the attempt it us all from me to get eyes or um or be basically he's out in the he either because he was on um um as he was on I'm as well, so he's already so he's already but each in terms of being an officer as well.
Yeah,
As well.
and it's sort of, it's that sort of thing of the folly of the little things getting you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Hastings even says, like, if we go after him for little things, he won't think we're going for anything bigger. So that's why they purposely chase him up for things that you think, God, that's nothing. But Hastings explains to Steve, like, if he thinks we're just chasing him for little things, then he won't think we're on for him to be basically a full-on corrupt bent copper, which is what fully Hastings believes.
Yeah, and I did essentially, didn't for his like charges at him. I didn't think the cameras is basically.
Yeah, but there's not too much of that in the first episode, is it? So we'll try and keep it.
Yeah, but that's essentially him prioritizing a higher risks or kind of aims and sort of burning off and so sort of and so sort of aims basically and it's been um, when it's been suspicion that AC-12 that he's been but charge is an additional charge. He's up to help Rusty's credibility and credibility. Almost and after the second interview was over, there's a pretty interesting scene and he students Eve here Eva asks him that's because he's a is this because he's a black officer
He basically politely says that, doesn't he? Like, Steve
yeah,
doesn't come out and say it,
yeah,
but he basically infers that could this be because
yeah,
he's a highly decorated. I can't even think of the term he uses, but it's to do with his skin color. And
yeah,
Hastings' response, it's probably, like I said, I
yeah,
have favourite moments through a lot of series one, and Hastings' response to Steve is probably one of my favourites moments in the first series.
yeah, yeah, because he get really up in the troubles and all the, and obviously in parts of Alpha, and obviously in parts of the Belfast, it's all segregated and cordoned off, depending on what sides of the city that you're based, because Protestants and Catholics are also segregated, and then they still are. This he basically is still a pretty high contentious, high risk situation. But he says, don't start talking to me about victimization. Nobody's blacker than me,
And you know that wouldn't fly in today's BBC. But yeah,
yeah,
and he also gives you a tiny bit of that backstory, which I quite like, and it's just a snippet, and he literally
yeah,
says, "Well, I was the Catholic copper,
mhm,
basically. The inference
yeah,
is in a Protestant area, and him and
yeah,
his mate got sent out for a job, and they got attacked.
yeah,
So he's basically saying to Steve, like,
yeah,
I've been round the block. Don't you try and make me out to do anything of that type because I've experienced it, and it's a. But what
yeah,
that's what I like about it. He doesn't give a
yeah,
massive speech to Steve. He just has
yeah,
that one line, and then they don't dwell on it.
yeah,
Obviously, in later series, that will come up again because that's part of his history.
yeah,
But it's just one line, and you go, okay, that helps me to understand a little bit more to do with Ted.
yeah,
But then they just move on, and it's not like talks about Tenton.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, um, yeah, so I'm interested to see where that backstory goes. But before we go any further, I would say as well, like they have to have been very careful with addressing that though, because that is a very because that is a very sensitive sort of um that is a very sort of sensitive sort of topic area and like we can and because we can either associate it with a few Irish people when I'm
Just a few.
together. Oops, so like so yeah, and like David obviously, so David obviously directly Jane pointed out, but telling he it's basically so and but also as well, Jack, I cave is instructed by each is to just to follow the procedure by going to the port by going to the port to the aim that like she tells she she tells like how they would she tells like a half hour sort of story. Ezekiel says that she got back from her business and children up at around 8 around 9 o'clock. Ezekiel in her house skip broken and she was in the back listening to me music and right in the reading and then I'm like oh um, oh shit and like as well it shows you how incompetent the receptionist
Oh
is
God, yeah.
because she's quite happy to accept
Well,
that
you were
bollocks story.
you were a bit confused, weren't you? What her job was,
Yeah,
and the way I've always understood it is she's
yeah,
not a fully trained police officer. She's
yeah,
basically clerical. She's
mhm,
basically like what you'd get at like a reception or
yeah,
like a normal job who's just been trained how to do it for the police.
yeah,
So she's sort of just this sort of that's her job. So you can sort of go where you can understand why she would just take everything that's said to her on face value because she's not a police officer, and she even says that.
yeah,
It's like, oh, I'm not fully trained, but I can do some things, which is
yeah,
basically I can fill out forms, and
yeah,
it sort of goes with the
yeah,
theme of how CID, because
yeah,
that's the other thing. Gates isn't CID; he's his own little
yeah,
unit, and CID get like all the jobs that nobody else wants to, and she's a part of that. So I
yeah,
think
and
it's
yeah,
very cleverly saying like the police in our heads we think, oh, it's all this big like entity, but like one entity,
yeah,
but no, it's these lots of different
yeah,
sub areas almost having to work around each other. And that's how you get mistakes, that's how you get things go wrong because it's not malice,
yeah,
it's just structure half the time.
yeah, and yeah, and basically, yes, well, the receptionist or is easily manipulated by it says, well, it basically is if you get any more information on us, he's just hand it over to me. He basically, so she's easily manipulated by him, so he starts to become a sort of man, um, and so he starts to become a sort of manipulated on his illness and it just adds another layer. He's character, basically.
Well, yeah, he basically flashes his name, doesn't he? Like the sort of
Yeah,
it's his fame almost. It's the sort of he's known as one of the
yeah,
best. He knows people know his hit
mhm,
rate. And if you think about it, she's just a lonely sort of
yeah,
receptionist. Like, so if somebody goes, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna like give you a smile and pay you a bit of attention,"
yeah,
she's very easy. So he knows what he's doing, Gates. He's a
yeah.
very intelligent guy. You can see that from the offset.
Yeah. So it's actually been used as an unacceptable in hitting unfortunately basic and basically because they can't and they would prove anything right now and basically because it's all been heavily covered up by each as well and like um and I meant to actually say as well that officers, he's
Oh, his
the
little motley crew.
yeah, the officers he's got this odd are absolutely some of the easiest officers in the planet because they're all sitting on Charlotte. He's sitting about out the office so but I can chairs like so arrogant and so easy
Oh yeah,
basically.
and some people might say, oh, so maybe if we saw this today, we'd call it
Yeah,
like virtue and wokey. But I
yeah,
don't think it is. I think there's a bit of macho-ness with his squad because
yeah,
that's how Kate gets in.
yeah,
They literally have a job at diversity hires almost because that's what Kate is. He gets told,
yeah,
Gates, you've got too many blokes on your team. You need to have a woman.
yeah. I am, yeah, yeah, Anna as well. So she's, so yeah, she tries to get, she tries to get, into, she tries to get into one sort of department as part of her undercover sort of mission for AC, for AC to, so she gets, so she ends up eating instead of Jesus. I call on them
I tell you what, though,
on
it's
initiation.
it's funny to see Neil Morrissey as that character, and I'm not going to say much more because you see a lot more of his
Yeah,
character later on. But considering Neil Morrissey usually plays the nice guy, he usually plays
yeah,
the likable character. He's the
yeah,
exact opposite in this. So that was interesting to see that actor because you said he's another one he's a well-known
yeah,
actor. He's a well-known face.
yeah. So what else happened in the coverage? My brain's all like
No,
since
I think we've got most of it because, like I said, the first episode it
yeah,
doesn't hit you over the head with too much, does it?
well,
It sort of just
yeah,
puts all the players in place, so you go right. This is like I said, Gates. This is the guy that we're going to be chasing.
yeah,
Steve's sort of like if you were going to use a term, he's probably the main like protagonist,
yeah,
and like Ted's his
and
boss. So you and Kate sort of like you said, you get the reveal at the end.
yeah. I know, yeah, and obviously as well that there's a sort of rivalry between Eaton and the other female officer because she kind of gets in a bit of a hump as well when she actually says, um, I should be I should be next in line for us, for this skill. I want to put a motion into get really bit itchy about it,
Yeah, and
so
Kate just
that's
says
the rivalry.
basically the
Yeah,
equivalent of and. And
yeah,
here's the thing, and I wanted Sudoku, I've just seen your comment. That's why I love this show. You just said I'm not sure I want Steve to win. Steve isn't likable. He's arrogant. He's cocky.
yeah,
He's they sort of refer to him as a like a blunt instrument. Like he's not. He's got plenty of traits, but as
yeah,
the series goes on, you get to see sort of his good bits come through, and you sort of his determination, and that's what wins. Well, it did with me. Maybe you still will feel like that by the end, but that's what
As
I like. That's what
yeah,
I like about this show because like everybody's not perfect. You have really
yeah,
flawed characters.
you get the unfairness when you fancy the actor as well.
But
Honest.
yeah, but I mean as a character as well. Like I said, and this is but that's what I mean. And in interviews, Martin has said, yeah, I purposely don't make him likable. I
Yeah,
play him like an arrogant insert
yeah,
words here. Like he knows that, and he plays into that at times.
Um, to be honest, to be honest with you, it doesn't really do anything sort of prehensible in the first episode, though. So, like, to be honest, I because he's still inexperienced, he's not doing anything to piss you off.
Oh no, he's
Yeah,
got. It's just a personality thing. With like I said, if you
yeah,
Martin has said in interviews, he purposely makes him the cocky guy in the office at times that you hate,
yeah, yeah.
and it's like, and it's just a personality thing with Steve.
But um the birds with and it's the birds were when Hastings this well had on my my had on with the authority I've had
In
on
the
with
first
the
episode,
yeah
okay, you watched it more like recent, so
yeah, he basically he said to, he basically said to Steve Father and give the authority to eat some soiled car, and it basically he has a game of psychological interest is trying to get him on top to basically and to basically because at that
he
point,
winds him up. He
yeah,
completely like that. That's another thing about Ted. Like he's good
yeah,
at reading people, you can tell, and he
yeah,
reads things quite quickly, and he knows the best way to get results out of him is
yeah,
to get him having a bit of rivalry with Gates, to get him
yeah.
having that bit of I want to get him for my own personal reasons,
I
which
mean,
is,
yeah, I mean, because even sort of you saw him
he was.
acting off about him as a would or policy and murders something odd. So like
Yeah,
by the time, so by the time so by the time him and his pa uh, and us again, each have already been sworn for the rivalry between them. So that was kill of us in and for the and for the raised ornamentation and eats enjoys them and enjoys them also ahead to and he sees his credibility so he pays more attention to them and he's like when he says to eat like and then ask him and some he's nobody's getting a ha- hand in
yeah, and
hand in this case.
like I said, like with Hastings saying that to Steve,
Yeah,
because as the audience, you know that it wasn't Gates. You know it was his band of misfits.
yeah,
And the same thing with like everybody is sort of playing each other almost
yeah,
in this show. Like
yeah,
everybody's got a bit of a game, everybody's got a bit of an angle, and it's just
yeah,
sort of you have to work out who's the least dodgy sometimes in this show. That's the best wording for it because everybody's got a bit of something
yeah.
that makes them not as clean as white.
And yeah, yeah, onto that joke. And is like because they've been sort of because they've been sort of umping off people on this team as well, and then and they kill people, they start shearing off people's ankles and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that, which is kind which is kind of graphic if you think
Oh,
about
the
it.
show doesn't
Wasn't
care about
expecting that.
for
Yeah,
that. It will, if it wants to show you
yeah,
something graphic. But that's the other thing. You can tell it only ever does it when it has a point.
yeah,
Like you said, that opening scene is quite shocking, but
yeah,
it's purposely like that because basically it puts Steve in Hastings' like sight, which is what you need. It puts Steve in a position with his old teammates and boss, which will come up later on in the series,
yeah,
and also the sort of the theme of the fact that it was a potential bomb threat comes up again. So this show's very good at sort of putting something in an episode and you won't notice it. It's sort of innocuous.
yeah,
And then a couple of episodes down the line, you go, oh God, that's linked to that. And it's sort of, this is when a lot of people talk about this show, that's what you'll hear them talk about.
yeah,
That's what they mean by clever, is
yeah,
it really does put stuff like in a spot and you just go, oh, okay, that's happened.
yeah, and then
And it comes
yeah, and it gets dragged back up again. So like that to kind of look forward to because I've only really seen the first two episodes so far. But yeah, I mean I've enjoyed. I liked what I've seen of it so far, and I think as well, to be honest with you, it's got the correct sort of character development you want, and and it's actually the expression that like it's hard to see any identity politics in it either because is that was the kind of thing I was sort of concerned about was the whole identity politics thing. I'm like, oh God, please don't be woke.
well, here's the thing.
Mm,
This was made 2011, 2012. So it
right, yeah,
dated a lot of that stuff. So,
yeah,
and even in some of the later season, he gets accused of that, but I don't think
yeah,
that's fair. But that's obviously your how you view it, and people can. I'm not saying you should have that view, just for me,
yeah,
because here's the thing: like the primary leads, you've got a female Kate who's got
yeah,
flaws, who's not perfect,
yeah,
who can be seen as weak, who can be seen as strong. You've got Steve, who, like I said, he's the main character,
yeah,
and yes, he's. You could say, oh, but they sort of put him down at times, but that's
yeah,
because I think honestly, the creator Jed had this
yeah,
idea with Steve that he's almost the underdog. That's how that character works. He works
yeah,
best when he's put in a corner, and then you've got Hastings, who's sort of this. Like I said, he's old school, he's old guard,
yeah,
but you wouldn't question him, even though he
yeah,
does. Like you said, it's sort of that scene when he says, "Steve, oh, I've been told."
yeah,
That's not a good thing to do. He's basically, like I said, lying to Steve, but in his head,
yeah.
he's thinking, right, I need to motivate this guy, so I'm going to say this.
Yeah, but like, cause, when the episode ends with all the it's sort of man appealing, tag, and this is a very sensitive case. I'm going to transfer the files onto my computer. Just go and make me and just go and make me a coffee if you know anything like yeah, what about I'm you're a bastard. That's
Oh,
basically because
your comment to me after you watched the first two episodes, I was like, yep, he doesn't. It's working. He doesn't like Gates or any of his crew.
yeah, and you basically, and you basically, do. eats the fly, and he basically down eats all the aisles of the machine, and I'm just like that. I don't want to see you get your and get your come up and
And this is only the first episode, and if it's got you thinking that
yeah.
already about Gates, it's done its job.
And yeah, because as I seen it, because as I seen it earlier on in the episodes where he's does over at the piano and he's like that, and it's he sort of looks over at his kid and he's like, I mean, it's almost like and it's almost like the facial expression that you see across his face and he's all like I says or a standstill.
Yeah,
Yes, that sort of facial expression and it's a real game. Elected and seen from him as
oh yeah,
well.
the actor
Oh,
Lenny James, I
yeah,
think he's called, is
and yeah, energy, and
he,
yeah,
he's considering how complex you this character becomes by the end. He's
yeah,
very good in this.
I, yeah, mhm,
And like I said, you sort of you need to. He's intelligent, he's cocky, and
mhm,
but like I said, he still has moments of showing good. Like, and so he's not like this caricature sort of villain.
I'm actually again when he's come up and on the day and I've only seen the first two episodes because it's like what are they you and it's where when there's L and Y covers and Aki said that she the what's the card is oh, and you're just like that. If you were going to do that, you stupid bitch, you should have left the keys in the car.
Well, let's just say
Oh,
he's not with her because of her intelligence.
yeah,
It's more cardinal reasons.
yeah. You get as a joke. Okay, there, but I'm going to
That's
go
why I
away.
did it and not you,
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
made it not as bad.
yeah. So yeah, I, yes, so I'm actually looking forward to doing the second episode. But I think because you get some of the repercussions from episode one and it gets expanded on a bit for other, and as we will talk about in the extended review, he starts to get a bit more and he starts to get a bit more desperate because in the first episode he's right to look at me, I'm the man on campus. He was
Yeah,
like,
and he basically tells that
yeah,
to Steve, like, back off.
uh, yeah, mhm,
So, yeah, and here's the other thing, folks. I stopped him from watching anything more than episode 2, so now he can watch more. Which is why also I think he was wanting to do this stream, because I was like, nope, Daniel, don't go too far ahead.
yeah, I mean, there's under construction build, isn't it? And now that you were actually right, because up in my one case I'm thinking probably it would I think because the only thing I don't watch is like sci-fi is a project. I think so this is something completely and completely. different for me personally, and I'm surprised. And I'm surprised a person like he actually enjoys a show because could come across as like a really sort of hopeful um person because are probably the most um area of might of our basically so so it came to me well and it took me by surprise and took me by surprise that you would like a show like that. That's because that's the opposite to your personality almost.
Well, I think and this isn't a spoiler thing, you will see the development, sort of the friendships in AC-12, like the further they go on. And I think
Yeah,
that's always been a good counter in this show, that you
yeah,
do have a lot of the time these very sort of dark topics, these very dark, sort of dodgy characters. But you sort of you see obviously the first series that everybody's settling, they're getting used to each other.
yeah,
But you get this really lovely bond,
yeah,
which is another interesting thing, like for me watching like series one again, because
yeah,
like Kate and Steve, they it's to see where they start. Because
yeah,
in the first episode, like he tries to talk to her, and because she's undercover, she blows him off and says, "No, like you're AC-12, don't come near me." And
yeah,
even in the second episode, when they know who each other are, they're still sort of
yeah,
cagey and still not sure of each other. So
yeah.
it's interesting, and you'll see this development of that. So that's
Yeah,
a nice
and
core to the show.
and yeah, so yeah, so all the performances from the cast actually get it's a out of 10 for me because actually it's a bit refreshing to have um to actually having with them sort of acting it makes a makes
Well,
a change
considering
for a
what we've
more
had to
modern show.
watch the last couple of years,
Oh Jesus, don't get
without
into
going into detail,
yeah.
and it's it's like I said, they're playing complex characters as well. They're not simple characters.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's, yeah, yeah, and there's well, that's almost an hour, sort of format for the show, so there's plenty of time for, character development and, like, story development, and you get time to develop the, and you get time to develop the, archism also.
Yeah, and it's I think this sort of approach it works having 6 episodes.
Yeah,
I think they're very good with this show. I think later on some of the later seasons they can get a little bit bloated, but definitely the first series it's very lean. It knows what it is. It has 6 episodes and it tells that story.
yeah,
So it's nice to have something that streamlined as well to watch.
yeah,
So
yeah,
let's see what you think for the other episodes when you get to them.
yeah, so I didn't get any questions about the episode if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it and you want to ask us a question or about the episode about what we enjoyed and ask them. Yeah, because we're here for another wee bit and also give your eating for this episode. You kind of eat until the end of the stream to give our eatings like and curious to see what the chat thinks because I know that I
Yeah, you
was
watched it.
actually
Thank you for that.
we seen the episode, so write down your eatings that I comb. What would you rate us out of 10? And obviously, and obviously, and obviously, sort of negative scores are also yeah, but I can't imagine it will be a negative score. Uh,
Oh yeah, I think it's right it's near the bottom.
yeah, so you would give it an 8 out of 10. Um, uh, EJ, yeah, I know, yeah, I know,
Yeah, by the time you get to your
yeah, I know your stuff. And says you're going to wait until it becomes a classic, but let's be honest, PJ, let's be honest, PJ, you're married, so you're, so now you can sort of understand what your wife is talking about, and she's probably, and she's probably trying to convince you to give the show a try. Oh, but now you kind of got a hold in what she's talking about. Basically,
even though when you have to talk about the show, even when you say, no, I won't spoil anything forward, you have to be careful what you say.
I need to try and watch an episode to get a feel for it. Doing so watch shows, but mostly older ones usually. See the sort of old or see the sort of older sort of talk shows today. They kind of remind me of a soap sort of drama, whereas this is like a high octane sort of action and sort of action based um drama serial, if that makes any
Yeah, and
if that makes
undercover.
any sense.
I think I know what you're referring to. Not no, don't. I'm not gonna have a go at you because you're not being obvious, but that's later.
Uh,
We're on series one, episode one. Yeah, yeah, we know what you're like with spoilers, mate.
yeah. And by the way, PJ, give the show a go. And I know that you said you're going to wait till it becomes a classic, but not take um why not take a chance and it's me and Charlotte that are recommending this
Yeah, but you saw his
really.
list.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
PJ, I don't know how you keep so much information in your head, mate.
Yeah, and so oh yeah, so you guys get about 50 shows to and he's got about 50 shows to catch up on.
Do you
Yeah,
know how much?
yeah, that's a bit longer. Like myself and like for finish but that I still haven't started yet. I've only just started a season 8. Well, really basically, well, so yeah, so yeah, so I only, so I only, it's just also I was actually watched in the episode, so shall we jump over to give your and jump over want to give your meetings for this first episode.
Yeah,
What would you rate it?
I'll give it a 9 because it's not a 10 out of 10. Because, like I said, a lot of this is set up and it's sort of putting people in places and getting people in certain spots that they need to be. But it's such a good way to set up character, like, and that's always going to be my bread and butter with any show. So I'll
See,
give it a
I'll be
9.
See, I'll be the shall get it an aim but put a point five and put a point five next to it. So 9.5 so yes so 9.5 not out of 10 and the reason I put a point five and the reason why I put a point five next to the nine is because of that epic opening one. Wasn't prepared for that in the soul. I tasted it like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, and undercover, I thought that's what you were talking about. Don't need to apologise. It was. I had a feeling you'd got mistaken a bit, so it's okay.
On the on the cover triple they have to give you of the
It was an accident, so
yeah
I could tell them. So no,
yeah
we're on the first series.
yeah yeah so on
Thank
the
you anyway, everybody who's here who hasn't watched it and has come because Daniel was a bit nervous, and
yeah
obviously this is quite different to what our usual stuff is. So
yeah
thank you, we appreciate everybody who's in the chat and anybody who watches the stream afterwards. So thank you very
yeah
much.
yeah and also as if you're if you're gonna leave sort of comments down below, kind of keep it to the first episode to like everybody has in the chat now. Oh, because as like keep it to the first episode because as I said, I'm very strict on spoilers because I did get ruined in Bill 8-7 for on last year in such a in such a bill. It sort of ends because I don't want to start I don't want to start removing people, so kind of keep the chat down in the comments to episode um into episode one. I think I'm actually go only I think like like I'm like just in the like a time. Hello.
Oh, hello, Dean. Nice to see you, mate, in the chat.
Yeah, yeah, so we've just basically we finished reviewing
Oh,
the
and it's us. Everybody's coming in
episode.
now.
Yeah, um, like, I'm I'm so sorry, guys, but you're going to have to go back to the very start of the stream because we're just basically we broke the back of the episode, so you will have to
Yeah,
go.
we can't do
Yeah,
2 hour streams on like one episode. So
yeah. Yeah, so you probably you have to go back to the start of the, and you'll probably have to go back to the start of the stream, but Um, but yeah,
Oh,
thanks
thank
for
you, Dean. Thank you very much. We appreciate
uh,
it.
yeah, but thanks very much for all the support, guys, and obviously on and obviously once that you finished the doing the stream that was asked earlier and in kind of either's a comment down um, um, below or in the comment section and get others rough thoughts on the episode because I'm dying to know more because I know that you're a dirty fan as well, so I'm dying to know your thoughts on the episode. I gave the episode a 9.5 because there was some good action and good character development, but I'm curious to know your thoughts. I'm curious to know your thoughts on it as well. So after the stream is over, go back through the stream at your leisure and kind of give off a comment. And if you fancy, give me a rating as well for the episodes because of me and alright, so yeah, you have
Thanks,
given
me.
us a rating. Yeah, yeah, I just put a point five after it, so I went 9.5. Charlotte went for a nine, so I think we're pretty. Um, so I think, so I think that we're all in consensus that it was a strong episode, and said that I could, said that I could give it an eight as well. But but before I shut the or steam off for tonight, Charlotte, I thought out saying what have you for our channel appearances that she's appearing on. So I hear away, Charlotte.
Yeah, so Saturdays you'll catch me on
Yeah,
the Sardis Zone for Classic, and
yeah,
whenever else I pop up on there.
yeah,
Whenever Dan asks me, I pop up on his
yeah.
channels at the spacebook. And more recently, I'm going to be with the Script Doctors at the end of the month, reading
Ah,
Time.
right.
So that'll be fun. You get to hear me be
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and also as well, yeah, here on this Facebook's channel as well from time to time. I've actually put the link in from Anne's channel down in the description, but I'll go back and I'll back and edit I'll back and edit the description and I'll put in the script tells after the stream sort of archives properly on the channel. I'll go back in and I'll edit the description and I'll put in the descript doctors channel as well. But like in terms of myself, you've got the episode and you've got the second episode review next Tuesday. So yeah, so kind of make sure that you're still sort of
Yeah, 'cause
and
you're Viridian.
yeah, but you're still sort of subscribed to the channel because you know what YouTube's actually like for unsubscribing people without them all each of your consent. Also as well, make sure that the bell notification is pressed so that you get updates in my channel as well. Yeah, that's and yeah, so that yeah, everybody's just checked to see if they are still subscribed because it's a because
Oh,
it's a bit of because it's a bit of a pain in the arse, because I'm trying to reach 200 by the end of the year, so we'll see how well that goes. But in terms of other appearances on channels, I'm on Captain Cock in the Sparks channel on Thursday night. Charlotte, it'll also be joining me, and we'll be discussing the two sort of versions to Total Recall, the original and obviously the 2012 remake. So that's on Captain Cockney Sparks channel, and then on Sunday on PJ Maybe's channel we return to discuss series of series with okay awards as well because we discussed the first series on PG's channel and PG's channel and ask and so on. So there's plenty going on as well. And I've and all the channels all the channels I've mentioned. I'll go back in and I'll edit the description and I'll add the description us into the description as soon as I stream uploads and it's proper and and it's proper because it usually it
oh yeah,
takes
it
a
has to upload.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and as we've put my two Facebook options so you can contact me via Charlotte and if you need and also you can follow me at Celtic Daniel 22 on at RNC whatever else I get up to over um over yeah, over here as well. I know obviously Captain Cockney, Spock, and Dan from the spacebook channel has already been on the Skipper option, and you'll be back here at the same time, so 7 Hawkins UK time for any American or for any either American or Canadian um, fab engine all weeks I fancy joining us in the chat so that's having Hawkins UK time it's Tuesday for episode would leave me a comment down below after the stream uploads till let us know if you want us to, until let us know if you enjoyed this every year because it is something a bit sort of, I think
Oh,
uneasy.
and PJ, I have to. I'll get told off otherwise.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's going to be tomorrow night and before the stream.
So that's all that me and Charlotte have for you tonight. But we look forward to seeing you. We look forward to seeing you in Tuesday for episode. So make sure you're still subscribed to like the stream and hit the bell to be notified for the next installment. So take care and stay safe.
Bye bye, everybody.